action in Austria is 5 lights away.
Welcome to the F1 Focus Race recap. What a weekend we witnessed at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. If you blinked, you might have missed a championship-altering moment because this was more than just a Grand Prix. It was a testament to the ever-changing nature of Formula One, a true shifting sands moment that could very well redefine our entire season. From qualifying shocks that sent ripples through the paddock, to race day fireworks, unexpected heroes, and some very public struggles, Austria delivered it all. Get ready, because we're strapping in and diving deep into every single moment that mattered. Let's go. When Formula One rolled into the Styrian Hills for the Austrian Grand Prix, nobody quite expected a weekend this explosive. The Red Bull Ring, nestled in the lush greens of Spielberg, has a habit of delivering wild stories, but this year it went truly off the charts. Let's rewind to Friday, when the paddock arrived under a blazing summer sun. Temperatures soared past 45 degrees Celsius on track, and teams were fighting a losing battle just to manage tyre degradation and brake temperatures. The McLaren camp, however, looked extremely confident. Their drivers, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, topped the free practice timesheets, showing remarkable pace on both long runs and single laps. All signs pointed to an epic showdown between McLaren and Red Bull. But Max Verstappen, the local hero and fan favourite, was having an uncharacteristically tough time. Throughout Friday and deep into Saturday, Verstappen was wrestling with what he famously described as an undrivable car. His radio messages were peppered with frustration. The RB21 was skating around, struggling for grip, and its brake balance felt all wrong. Red Bull even changed out both brake calipers and pads overnight, desperately hoping to solve the issue. But when qualifying hit on Saturday afternoon, things went from bad to worse. As Verstappen tried to extract every ounce of performance, the wind dramatically shifted, gusting across the circuit and destabilizing his Red Bull even further. The track temperatures had climbed again, exposing an ugly balance issue, and his tyres simply were not hooking up. Then, on his critical final flying lap in Q3, Verstappen came across traffic, lost crucial momentum, and ended up 7th on the grid. For a man who usually has this place in his back pocket, it was nothing short of a disaster. Verstappen's voice on the radio was almost defeated. Meanwhile, Lando Norris was absolutely flying. McLaren had nailed the setup, and Norris clocked a blistering 1 minute 3.971 lap that put him squarely on pole position. And in a huge statement of intent, his teammate Oscar Piastri locked out the front row right alongside him. There was a palpable sense of confidence, an electric buzz in the orange garage that Sunday could truly be their day. But as we all know, F1 never runs in straight lines, does it? The real drama was just about to begin. Sunday dawned, and the Austrian skies held their breath for the show. But the drama began even before the race had officially started. On the formation lap, Carlos Sainz's Ferrari just refused to budge from first gear. As the entire field pulled away, Sainz was stuck, frantically trying to get moving, smoke billowing from the rear brakes like a tragic magic trick. The team screamed instructions over the radio, but nothing worked. Then, flames erupted viciously around the brake ducts, and the Ferrari mechanics had to rush in with extinguishers, literally fighting to save the car from burning to the ground. Sainz was out before he even saw a green light. His radio summed up the pure heartbreak. Talk about an unlucky start. The marshals bravely cleaned up the pit lane, the grid reformed, and then lights out. The field surged toward turn 1, a thunderous rush of horsepower echoing off the mountainsides. Norris made a clean getaway, but Max Verstappen, already desperate to claw back positions, was on the hunt. But then, coming up to turn 3, utter chaos struck. Kimi Antonelli, the Mercedes rookie who'd been punching above his weight all weekend, locked up under braking, misjudged the closing speed, and slammed square into Verstappen's right rear tyre. The Red Bull launched sideways, skidded helplessly into the gravel trap, and in a truly shocking twist, Max's race was over. Barely 2 corners into his home Grand Prix, in front of his adoring fans, it was all over. On the radio, Verstappen unleashed pure fury.
I got hit like crazy.
And honestly, he had every right to be absolutely livid. This was his first DNF in more than 462 days, one of the most incredible streaks in modern F1, and it came right here in Austria, of all places. The safety car was immediately scrambled. Marshals quickly pushed Verstappen's car away, and you could literally feel the air go out of the entire Red Bull grandstand. A collective gasp of disbelief and disappointment echoed across the circuit. The sands just shifted in the most dramatic way possible. When the race finally restarted after the safety car, Lando Norris truly took charge. McLaren had drilled their strategy to perfection. Run a one-stop, defend track position, and let those perfectly managed tyres do the rest. Piastri, shadowing his teammate like a loyal wingman, kept a safe buffer to Charles Leclerc, who was trying to pounce in third. McLaren looked absolutely dialed in, but behind them, the drama simply refused to die down. On lap 31, Yuki Tsunoda tried a very ambitious dive bomb into turn 6 on Franco Colapinto, but ran out of room and tagged the Alpine's left rear. Colapinto spun around helplessly, grazing the barriers. Race control, swift as ever, slapped Tsunoda with a 10-second penalty for causing a collision. And Colapinto's day went from bad to worse. Later in the race, as Piastri was lapping him, Franco forced the McLaren wide at turn 4, completely ignoring those crucial blue flags. The stewards handed him a 5-second penalty for impeding. Colapinto's radio was pure sheepishness. At the very same time, Lewis Hamilton found himself deep in a strategy argument with his Mercedes race engineer. The team wanted him to box early to cover a possible undercut, but Hamilton flat out refused, genuinely worrying that the tyre life wouldn't last the distance. He radioed back with a cryptic but telling, referencing the Germany situation again, a clear callback to his infamous 2019 Hockenheim disaster when strategy calls turned into an absolute mess. While all this midfield drama played out, Norris and Piastri simply disappeared up the road. McLaren looked utterly unstoppable. Their pace, their tyre wear, their pit stops, everything clicked into place. This was a team operating at the absolute peak of their powers. But even inside the perfectly orange McLaren garage, there was a quiet tension. Late in the race, Oscar Piastri was visibly reeling Norris in. His engineer urged him to hold position, but the hungry Australian was clearly eager for more. Norris, feeling the pressure, pleaded over the radio. McLaren eventually made the tough call, telling Piastri to simply maintain the gap, fearing that a late race showdown between their two fiery young stars could end in absolute tears for a potential 1-2. And they listened. Further back, Charles Leclerc had a somewhat lonely but solid drive to third. He tried desperately to stay with the McLarens in the first stint, but the Ferrari just couldn't match their unwavering consistency. Still, a podium was a rock-solid damage limitation result for him. Behind him, Lewis Hamilton held on for a strong fourth, showing that Mercedes is still very much in the fight, even if they're not quite at the sharp end yet. George Russell came home fifth, a clean, workmanlike drive that added crucial points to the board. But one of the absolute best feel-good stories of the day came from Gabriel Bortoleto. The Sauber rookie quietly picked up the pieces of a truly crazy race and scored his first ever F1 points in P8. For a driver who faced some doubts coming into the season, it was a moment of pure satisfaction, a fantastic reward for a brilliant performance amidst the chaos. As Lando Norris crossed that finish line, he was absolutely jubilant. Over the radio, his engineer tried to keep it calm, but Lando was already celebrating. McLaren had delivered an astonishing 1-2 finish on enemy territory, at Red Bull's home track, no less. It was a statement of intent that echoed across the entire paddock. And what a stark, heartbreaking contrast for Max Verstappen. His home race dream turned to dust as he trudged through the gravel, helmet still on, almost visibly avoiding eye contact with the marshals. He had been battling poor grip, those tricky brake pad issues, and a persistent lack of balance all weekend. And in the end, his Austrian Grand Prix ended in the barriers. The paddock couldn't quite believe it. Verstappen's incredible run of 462 days, without a DNF, was one of the greatest streaks in modern F1. Antonelli's rookie era had ended it in mere seconds. After the race, the championship picture has irrevocably shifted. Oscar Piastri still leads the drivers' table, but Lando Norris is now only 15 points behind him, having turned a 22-point deficit into a genuine, tangible fight. Max Verstappen, after failing to score, has dropped to a surprising third in the standings, a huge 61 points adrift. In the Constructors' Championship, McLaren roared clear on 417 points, leaving Ferrari and Mercedes wondering just how on earth they're going to catch up to this orange juggernaut. For a team that had struggled so dramatically just 2 seasons ago, this was pure redemption on a global stage. The radio chatter after the race was just as juicy as during it. Verstappen eventually cooled down from his initial rage, but his lingering frustration was clear in radios. Antonelli, for his part, accepted blame immediately, apologizing genuinely in Parc Ferme. A tough lesson for the rookie, but admirable honesty. Max went on to eventually say, "I think every driver has made a mistake like that. No one does that on purpose as well, so for me, that's not a big deal." Elsewhere, there was immense praise for the McLaren strategy team, who handled 2 fiery, ambitious young drivers with a truly steady hand. The radio message that perfectly summed up their control came on lap 56. "This is the Germany situation. Manage the gap." It was subtle, a coded but clear reminder to Norris and Piastri that they couldn't afford to throw away a 1-2 by fighting each other for glory. In the end, they listened and delivered a massive, historic result for Woking. For the fans, there was an undeniable sense that McLaren had properly arrived. No more flashes of brilliance. This was a dominant weekend, start to finish. Norris and Piastri are now undeniably real championship contenders, and the mood in the orange camp is absolutely electric. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen will have to regroup. The next round is Silverstone, and you can bet every single penny he'll be out for revenge on Norris and Piastri. If there's one thing we've learned over the years, it's never count Max out, especially after a bruising defeat. But Austria undeniably belonged to McLaren. A pole position, a stunning 1-2 finish, and even the fastest pit stops of the day, they couldn't have scripted it any better. The Red Bull Ring was meant to be Verstappen's fortress, but McLaren simply kicked the doors down and threw a championship party instead. As the fans poured out of the grandstands under the setting Styrian sun, the debate was already raging. Was this the moment the 2025 title fight truly turned? Did McLaren just announce themselves as the new team to beat? Only time will tell. But for now, Norris and Piastri have every right to dream. They conquered the Austrian Grand Prix with style, precision, and just enough drama to keep the fans hooked. So what was the final takeaway? A race that had it all. Heartbreak, heroics, chaos, and a bit of fire. Literally. From Sainz's flaming Ferrari to Verstappen's shocking DNF to a McLaren 1-2 that nobody could deny, the 2025 Austrian Grand Prix was a perfect snapshot of why we love this sport. Anything can happen, and usually does. As we look ahead to Silverstone, the storylines are already writing themselves. Can Verstappen bounce back? Can Norris and Piastri keep the orange dream alive? Will Ferrari or Mercedes finally spoil the McLaren momentum? So, what was your biggest surprise from Austria? Who impressed you the most? And do you think the F1 power balance has truly shifted after this race? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please hit that like button, and for all the latest insights, news, and deep dives from the world of Formula One, make sure you subscribe to F1 Focus and ring that notification bell. Until then, keep it pinned, stay safe, and never stop loving the roar of these incredible machines.